People always ask me, how do you win in fantasy basketball? And I always tell them, you need to identify the players that people aren't thinking about. Those are what we call the sleepers. And the other thing you need to do is make sure that you avoid the bust. In this episode, we're going to be running down a list of sleepers and busts from Yahoo's own Dan Titus. Your favorite analyst's favorite analyst. Who do I talk to when I'm trying to win a championship? I mean, I could go through the numbers myself, but I just call my man Dan Titus. Dan, I need to know the sleepers and busts that I need to focus on so I could win my freaking chip. Talk to me, brother.
So first off, it's like kind of like, how do you define sleeper? In fantasy basketball, I define sleeper as anyone that you're having to go a little bit further into the trenches to figure out where this guy is or where I should grab him. Kind of the guys that you may reach for that some people may not even expect you to grab them where you're getting them. And that's because you have the intention of them beating their average draft position or ADP. So how deep you want to go? How deep you want to go, Robin?
For me, I want to go deep. I want to go 12-teamer. Like I got like 2 kids and a wife. I cannot do a 30-man league right now. Like I don't have the bandwidth capacity or mental stability to put that on myself. So if you could give me, like, if I'm in a 12-team league, some players that in that 10 to 13th pick, if I have a 13-man roster, like those bottom draft picks, who should I be looking at for value?
Tari Eason. He's still going outside the top 120. And with Dorian Finney-Smith set to miss the beginning of the season with a knee injury, he's going to get minutes. Whether he's starting, it doesn't matter. He was a top 100 player last year, playing 25 minutes off the bench. If you look at his fantasy points per minute, he was top 20. He was 91st percentile at his position last year. And so that just shows that it's a guy that whenever he steps on the floor, he's productive. And that's what you want in fantasy. The better part of that is he's going to help you in the stock department. His shooting splits are decent. He won't hurt you too much in free throw percentage. He shoots threes. He can shoot a high percentage from the field. He's just a lock for me, going well outside the top 120 that you can get. That's going to be upwards of a top 75 type talent if everything breaks right.
Do you think he could work for me in my category leagues as well as my points leagues?
I do. And I think that really speaks to points leaguer. I think speaks to the fantasy points per minute value because that's what I've been using as my marker to kind of evaluate how good are you when you actually get minutes. And if, Kevin Durant, are we really going to rely on him to play more than, 65 games? There's just going to be an opportunity for him to see the floor and see a significant role in this offense as well as this defense. Like he's a core member of this rotation that I think is really vying for minutes, and he's going to get it. So I think this is a guy that you can target across formats.
Yo, you are the man, yo. I know you just didn't hit me with the fantasy points per minute.
I'm literally coming out with an article about it on Wednesday or Thursday. So yeah, man, like because I've been getting so heavy in the points formats now, like I'm trying to find those things to kind of differentiate players. And before with category leagues, you're looking for balance and consistency. Whereas like if I'm looking at just pure numbers, raw numbers, like how can I extract that to get some value? So here we are, fantasy points per minute.
That's good. No, I'm going to be reading that, but also picking your brain about that because that when there's some things in this space that, my spidey senses like go off. And like when you said that, I had like a visceral reaction. I was like, oh, whoa, what's happening? So thank you for that. Who else we got? If I'm digging into crates, if I'm in the fantasy basketball record shop and I'm trying to get a dusty record, talk to me. Who am I looking for?
We're getting dusty. Let's go to Washington with Keyshawn George.
Dusty.
Yeah, dusty. Because the thing is, it's going to take a little time. It could take a little bit of time, but I think it's going to come sooner than people realize because Bilal Coulibaly is still dealing with his wrist injury, or his thumb injury, so that's going to keep him out. So as a result, Keyshawn George has been getting a lot of hype in the offseason, coming from AmeriCup where he played, guarded positions 1 through 4. His defense is going to keep him on the court and in the rotation. Yeah, Chris Middleton is still there. Corey Kispert's still there. They got these vet guys, but if we're talking long-term assets here, eventually this is the youth movement that the Washington needs and expects. Keyshawn George is going to be at the forefront with it. And if you look at just his growth and maturation as a playmaker, I was looking at him all during summer league, and I couldn't help but notice how well the Wizards played better when he had the ball in his hands as a creator. So I think that's an opportunity where we're going to see some growth in his game. So if you're getting the points, you're getting the steals, you're getting the additional playmaking, this is a guy that I think can exceed his ADP, and he's going undrafted in a lot of leagues. So this is a guy that I think is a deep sleeper that can definitely help you in 12-team formats.
Yeah, towards the end of last year, I grabbed him a few times and he produced. And I saw him in summer league a little bit, and I actually stashed him and held on in a dynasty league. So I'm really high on him. Who else you got?
I think it's Ace Bailey time, man. I'm not really a rookie guy. I'm not, but if we're talking sleepers, man, he's going like a rookie should, well outside the top 100 picks. And from what we've seen in the preseason, I did see, I just got an alert that he's dealing with knee tendonitis in both knees, which I'm like, this kid is like, is he not? He's not even 20 years old. Yeah, how do you got tendonitis like that? I think that's just the Jazz doing what the Jazz do. But I think the Jazz are going to compete more than they did last year. And so I think that this is a core member of their rotation. I think he's going to start from day one, because I haven't seen anything from the preseason that indicates that they're going to put this guy on ice or let him watch or learn, from the bench. And so when you look at his scoring potential, I think he's a decent rebounder already. I think he can actually help in stocks. He looks like a Brandon Miller, Paul George-esque light type of player. And I think that this can get going right away. So he's a guy that I think is, let me see where he's rostered right now. I'm pretty sure he's well under 50% rostered in Yahoo League. So this is a guy that you can get for free pretty much at the end of your drafts.
Yep. And I think, I talk about the eye test a lot, right? So I think as fantasy analysts, many of us are so committed to the data, so committed to the numbers that sometimes the eye test doesn't come into play as much. Not everyone, but I know that, many would agree that data kind of leads the charge on how we assess things. And, obviously there's roster management stuff with a team that might happen that would help us too. But for me, I'm all about the eye test. And watching him the other night pop off on KD was crazy work. I was like, yo, chill, son. I was like, and I think KD said something like, yo, you just got here. You can't talk to me like that.
He was unfazed.
Dropped 25. That to me is a signal that whether now or later, this is a player that we really need to pay attention to, especially for points leagues.
Do you think he can make a run for Rookie of the Year with Cooper Flagg?
Absolutely. Because I think everyone is kind of given that to Cooper already. So I think for Cooper Flagg, I think his expectations are so high that, he's going to have to live up to something. Ace dropped in a draft. He has a chip on his shoulder, the size of a daggone Chipotle burrito. He's really he's hungry, yo. And so I imagine that, he can give him a run. Do I think he'll get it? I don't think so, but I think he'll be number 2, maybe. I think if these last couple of games are any indication of what's to come, he's going to have a great season for a rookie.
I completely agree with you. And I think he's gonna be a pretty explosive rookie off the rip. And to land in Utah, I was like at first I was like, is that ideal for him? But I'm like, you know what? It probably is. He's already gotten rid of the distractions of his management team. He's just there to hoop. What is there to do in Utah but hoop? So I'm all for it, man. I think he's going to have a great rookie season, and I think fantasy managers are discounting him right now.
Good stuff. Well, you gave us some amazing sleepers. Now, do you have a few busts, some guys that we need to fade, some guys we need to stay away from, some players that will just put us on a struggle bus again, right? We don't want to be back on a struggle bus. Who do you got for me?
So an early bust, and I'm not saying he's going to bust for the whole season here. I'm just saying relative to ADP right now, Jalen Williams, he's not ready to play yet. And yet he's being drafted as if he's ready to go right now. He hasn't been cleared for contact. I don't even think he's shooting with his right hand yet. And so if you're drafting him in the 3rd round, that's probably too early, just given how long it's going to take for him to get into game shape. He is practicing, but it's not taking contact and having real scrimmages here. So I think his values is too high right now. So I would depress him. Also, De'Aaron Fox, I think he's also still going too high, depending on the fact that he's just not playing right now. He's been out for 3 or 4 weeks. And Dylan Harper looks damn good. Another guy, him and Stephon Castle are two guys that I think you could take as a late round flyer to kind of get your season started while De'Aaron Fox is on the bench recovering. Those are two pretty high profile guys that I'm kind of fading. I actually don't really like Rudy Gobert either in fantasy this year. Like, I think if you depend on what you need, if you're looking for rebounds in the mid rounds, like, yeah, sure, he makes sense. But like, if you look at his production over the past 3 years, it's just going down. He had a career low 4.1% block rate last year. And if Rudy Gobert isn't blocking shots, like you might as well just wait for Isaiah Hartenstein like 2 or 3 rounds later, if that's the case. But then also, if you look at his fantasy point per minute production, last year was the lowest he's had in over a decade. He's always been a guy that's been clearing like 1.2, 1.3 in some cases. Last year was 0.99. So when you look at Naz Reid and his contract that he just got, Terrence Shannon coming up, you have also who's the other guy? Oh man, if you just look at Minnesota's roster in general, his usage is going down, and the way that they never played through him, but he's always an afterthought in that front court. And so I just don't think that there's much upside in picking him where he's going in that 5th, 6th round territory. Late round guys that I'm not really feeling. Let's see here. Never been a fan of Tobias Harris for obvious reasons. I think he's just dwindling slowly but surely. He'll give you percentages, but I think that the counting stats are going to continue to go down. One other guy that I think I'm fading is Emmanuel Quickly. And it's because not the talent. I just think he admitted to us like what is probably going to be reality. He's going to be playing more off ball because Brandon Ingram is healthy. Scotty Barnes demands a lot of usage. And RJ Barrett's actually a sneaky playmaker and facilitator. He's become one. Last year kind of forced his hand, but he can do it. And so that kind of leaves a void for Manuel Quickly to kind of not be that true point guard that we expect him to be. You know, we wanted him at north of 6 or 7 assists. I don't know he's going to get that type of opportunity to do that. So his ADP is fine. I'm just not targeting him as like what I would expect him to be for a true point guard. How he's kind of been labeled in basketball terms.
Okay, good stuff. So I got a couple of players to ask about before we move on from that. So what's your take on Embiid? So how late does he fall before you pull the trigger? Or do you just avoid the headache, like let him fall, let somebody else grab him? Because somebody's going to grab him, right? So I've seen him drop to 5th round. Like, this is a guy that, if healthy, is a 1st-round player, but he don't play. And people don't believe he will play. It's a risk. Is that a risk you are willing to take? And if so, where would you take that risk?
5th round doesn't seem to me. I think that's actually a place where I would get him. And I haven't shied away from it, mainly because I've been doing the drafts for high score where I think his value is elevated. However, I think it's more about what we see. And I love that you brought up the point about eye test, because my eyes tell me that he's in the best shape and easily, probably 5 years, 5-10 years. Like, I've been praying that this guy just knocked off the weight and took the pressure off those knees. And the fact that he played in the blue and white scrimmage, which is something that he never usually does, says to me that he's actually more committed. That whole story came out about, how he felt and what his journey's been being with the Sixers and, going through that MVP season and then being a letdown. I don't know. I think this is a guy that's got a chip on his shoulder to some degree to prove they still got it. And I think if you're banking on him playing at least 50 games, that's a good value relative to where you're getting him, because he can still give you at least 20 points, around 10 rebounds, around 5 assists, really strong shooting percentages. He'll give you some stocks too. If he commits to rebounding, which is what I want him to do, I want him to become like that modern day Tim Duncan. If he could do that, and he only plays like 30 minutes a night, he's going to smash his ADP. It's not even going to be close. So I have the willingness to draft him. I'm willing to take the risk. A similar guy to that, as I would take the risk on, is Kawhi Leonard. He's going around the 4th, 5th round. I don't know, man. The eyes tell me that this dude looks pretty healthy. And yeah, everyone kind of raised their floor around him. So like, if you're not depending on him for those back-to-backs, I'll take the production when he's actually on the court, because at that cost, it's not. If you look at the other people that are going around him, yeah, you may not have the everyday production, but overall, I think it's going to help your fantasy team.
Last question. So Kyrie Irving, DeJounte Murray. At what point of the draft would you consider stashing them, or is that something you're staying away from?
You have to have an IL spot available for you to do that. I think the beginning of the season is the best time to do that because hopefully most of your players are healthy right now. And if you're playing an IL plus on a Yahoo platform, you could easily get a game time decision type dude, swap them in and out. But if you're playing the long game, I think DeJounte Murray makes more sense. Just looking at the timeline of when his injury occurred, where he's at in his rehabilitation process, he seems to me to be the best long-term stash out of him, Kyrie Irving, and Jason Tatum. So if DeJounte Murray's there and you have a spot available in your IL, put him in there because I think he could be a guy that comes on probably right around the All-Star break, maybe sooner, maybe he comes back in January. And we know what that dude can do from a fantasy perspective.